Hey everyone, this is Roger, and welcome to the year 2020. This month actually surprised us on Twitch Prime members as we got 10 new games. 5 of those are from Raw Fury and Plug-in Digital, but the 5 I'm going to focus on is Devolver Digital. So let's get into it. So the bit of confusion that happened was Devolver Digital came out on December 26th, while the other 5 games came out January 2nd. So we had this dual release of 5 games apiece, which made it 10, and I didn't really get time to look at the later 5, and plus the Devolver Digital is one of my favorite publishers, so I went strictly for that to begin with anyways. So I'm going to start out by saying, overall, I recommend all 5 of these games. But I have a very big bias, as I told you, this is one of my favorite publishers. So I'm going to go through and try to cut out my bias as much as I can to talk about each of these games. So the first game up is Enter the Dungeon, which came out a couple years ago in 2016, cost $15, and had a Metacritic score of 84. The average time you'll get out of this game is about 16.5 hours, and this is called a bullet hell rogue adventure. So basically, it's a dungeon crawler, but it's with a lot of shooting. If you ever played Smash TV back in the day, this reminds you a lot of it. So to start off, I already owned this game many years ago, and I would just recommend now, download. Just download it now. This is probably one of the best games you will get free. So to talk about it in more detail, again, there's a dungeon you run around called a gungeon, and they're randomly generated. So each time you play, there'll be different layouts and all, so you won't get tired of it too much. Each level consists of some certain rooms that are similar, so there's always a marketplace to buy something with coins you collect, and there's usually 2 chests, and the different colors means more rare, so you usually get a gray chest, which is your basic one, and then you can get like a green or blue chest. They'll have a more powerful unlock for you. Replayable like crazy. This game's very hard. You're not going to beat it the first time you play it. Like, I'll be shocked. Because you just gotta unlock more guns that you can actually find randomly and stuff like that. So it's going to take you a while to learn how to do a lot of this stuff. And like I said, it's a hard game. You're going to be running around. There's usually 5 levels in the dungeon, and that's not counting all the secrets. And honestly, I still haven't beaten this game. So there's kind of cool puzzles to figure out to unlock characters. So you have like a store, but you can't access that until you unlock them as prisoners in the 2nd level. So you have to kind of figure out how to play the game before you even get a store to start buying some of this stuff. And the controls are pretty simple. You use the 2 joysticks, one to move, one to look around. And then you have a shoot and dodge button, and that's pretty much it. You can change weapons and all, but it's kind of simple. And they added co-op now, so you can do local co-op. On Steam, you could do remote play, but for this, it's on Twitch. You could do local co-op, so you can bring a buddy to suffer with you. And currently, the big draw to me is the guns. There's 243 guns right now, and that's counting updated guns that were added later. And these guns are entertaining. So the couple I found while recording was the lowercase R gun, which is some reason my favorite, and it shoots a burst of 6 bullets, but it just spells out bullet, so you're shooting letters. And it always makes me laugh. And then I got the barrel, which shoots fish, and it does water damage. So there's fires you got put out, so you can shoot these to do that. And the fish can confuse people, so it gives you a bonus. And each gun has their little quirks that will be able to like stun guys. You can charm people to work for you, stuff like that. So again, I already recommended a download, but the pros here would be randomly generated levels, a dungeon game that has a lot of variety, and it's very challenging. I enjoyed this a lot. The con here is there's an overhead view. So it's 8-bit style game with overhead. So if you don't like classic games, you're not going to like this. And it could be a roadblock that the difficulty of this. It's a very hard game, and it's going to hit you rough at first. So Ape Out is the 2nd game that was released on free. And this came out of February of this year. The next 4 games, I think, are all this year. So they'll be all relatively new. And this cost $15 right now and has a Metacritic score of 83. It takes 2 hours to beat, and that's just to beat the main game. There's a harder mode available if you want to play more. And this is a beat 'em up game, but it's kind of music based, which I really did enjoy. So I'm going to kind of push that off to later. The graphics are simple with this like scratchy look. And this fits the game because it's all jazz-based music, and it's kind of chaotic, and this just kind of helps the environment a lot. Controls are simple: left stick to move, right stick to look again, left triggers to grab someone for a shield, and the right trigger is to push. The game revolves around music and what's going on, and this is what was the huge standout to me. You can kill a guy and you'll hear like the drums start hitting in the music. And when more people appear on screen, the music gets crazier, more chaotic. And it just goes with the level. Like, that makes this game very good. The maps here also randomly generate each time you play. So if you die, it'll go into this death screen showing you where you went and the level. But that actually changes the next time you play it. So it's like you can't even learn like a path. And it's kind of interesting, and I like that a lot. I noticed that there's like 27-minute speed runs of this, which I have no clue. I feel like it's pure luck. There's only 4 worlds with 8 levels each. And if you don't die in these levels, they're about a minute a piece. So if you can run it straight through, you would be really good. So it's not very in-depth there, and they're kind of themes. Like the first one's like a jungle. One of them's you're like caught in this high-rise apartment, and stuff like that. This is very arcade style, and that's where it shines. You can go back to play these levels, try to get the highest score, and do stuff like that, get the quickest time. So that's where the replayability kicks in. For me personally, I would say don't download this if I had to pick. I didn't think this game was really worth that much for the price in general. That's why I didn't buy it before this free. So the pros here would be the unique gameplay and challenge. This is a very arcade style game based around music, and it really shined there. And the arcade style is very replayable. The cons here is there's no story, and it's very short. Like I said, it's 2 hours it took me to beat this game. And the levels are random but simple. Like, they will change, but you kind of just have the same, like, doors, and you can identify, like, oh, here's the building that has this. So it kind of moves things around, but it's not really random, and it got repetitive to me throughout this. So I would recommend a not here. Alright, so I gotta be careful how to pronounce this. It's Gato Roboto is the next game, which came out in May this year, and it costs $8 normally and $79 on Metacritic. This took me 3 hours to beat. Here's the ending screen here with the bottom blurred out at 100%. So this is a basic platformer, and basically the story here, which made me laugh, is you're a captain and you get a distress signal and you wreck because the cat stepped on the controls. And then the captain tells the cat to help figure out why the alarms are going off in this distressed planet. So then you play as the cat who gets into a robot and saves the world. But I don't think that would really happen. Hold on, let me get my cat here. Okay, Lux. Go save the world. No, doesn't work the same. So this game is full of lies already. The game here is very simple. The graphics are black and white, and you can find 14 different cartridges throughout the game to change this color scheme, but the black and white worked the best to me, and it reminded me a lot of Obra Dinn if you ever played that game. The controls here are really smooth, and I enjoyed them a lot, and it was fun because you got these upgrades to advance more further. Like, you got this spin jump eventually, you're able to shoot missiles, and it added unique gameplay to that. And it had puzzles around all of these new moves, and there's even puzzles to move your suit across. There's like these little conveyor belts, elevators that you had to move your suit. So that was kind of cool. There was actually a map feature, which for most games, I usually hate the map because it was kind of confusing a lot of times. This one was so straightforward to me. It showed me rooms I was missing. So actually doing the 100%, I only had to look up like one thing because it was odd to get to the room. Everything else, I would just go back to the level and be like, oh, I missed these 2 spots, and would go find it. And it's kind of an entertaining game. There's some like little jokes, and obviously the game has like a quirky story to begin with. So it's kind of cool, and I liked how the story actually ended. And there's a variety in the worlds here. For being a simple black and white, there's a water level, there's a heat-based level where your screen's a little fuzzy to the heat, and then there's a vent level where you had to be the cat the most of the time, which you can't shoot or nothing, and it's a one-hit depth. So this whole game was a download for me. I enjoyed this a lot, and I was shocked it was $8. Like most of these games, they're on the Switch or mobile. Some of them are on the Xbox and PS4, like Enter the Gungeon, so this did feel like a very good Switch game to me. The pros here is the simple platform with the unique little puzzles, and it was fun upgrades, and I just enjoyed the actual look of it, even though it was very simple. The cons here would be the monotone color. The black and white, I could see that instantly making people not want to play this game. And it's not long. It was 3 hours for me to 100% it. So that tells you how much it is there. So it was kind of a fun game to play, but overall not that long. Next up, we have Heave-Ho, which came out in August of this year and got a Metacritic score of 76 and is about $10 normally. And this game takes about 4 hours to beat. And this is a puzzle physics game. And basically the goal here is to reach this half circle with the flag to complete each stage. So very simple. And you're this weird guy that's just the head of the person with 2 arms. And you just move with the left stick and use the left and right triggers to control each hand to grab or let go. And basically you gotta swing yourself or climb yourself or figure out how to get to this other goal. So very straightforward. The graphics I kind of liked. They were unique in a sense. Like your character was very smooth looking and cool. He had this cartoon look. While the level was drawn to this crownish, like crowns drawn, and it was like interesting, and it grew on me, like it off-putting at first, but then I enjoyed it. There's about 9 themes. I wouldn't really call them worlds, and they had about 5 levels in each. And then once you beat those, they moved to the harder levels, which actually jumped up in difficulty a lot. I was amazed by this. So each of the themes would add something new. So, for example, the circus level, which was one of my favorites, the platforms would spin. So you would be gathered into that. Some of them added like electricity death traps and stuff like that. I didn't like the assist mode. So assist mode just colors your hands for you. I didn't like playing without it. So most of the gameplay's there. But what confused me, which is very minor but annoyed me, was the red glove was not mapped to the right trigger. And some reason red and right just go together to me, and it messed me up the whole time. There's a local co-op game is where it shines. You can have 3 other people play, and I imagine it'll be fun and chaotic because you can get these little emotes. And dying was interesting there. So when you die, you fall off the level, and it's like a paint splash. And it'll splash part of the level. So the more you die, the more color you get, which I think in co-op, you can tell who died a lot by just how much of the level is their color. So I recommend this as a download. I really enjoyed this game at the time. The game was very challenging, which is a very good pro to me. The physics was pretty good, and it was simple. The con here could be kind of the simplest thing there too. You're just this circle with 2 arms. And the look can be off-putting. It doesn't look like a very interesting game. So the last game, which was actually a mobile game first that came to PC, and it came out in August, which was a couple weeks before Heave-Ho, was Witch Eye. And this was $3 on iOS, and it's a 68 mobile rating on Metacritic. And this takes about 3 hours to beat, and they classify this as a platformer, but I don't know what to classify this other than a retro game. And it's confusing because the story here is you're a witch who's chasing a knight that stole from her. But instead of being the actual witch, you change it to her eye, and you control her eye. And the controls are really simple here. You use the control stick to pick which direction you go, and you just keep going that direction until you bounce off a wall and go the other direction. So you constantly move, and then you hit any other button to stop moving, and then you repeat. So that was the whole control. And as you can tell, you're just this floating eye. So that's why I said it's not really a platformer. You're just moving around in a platformer style game, which just added a unique twist. It was like I was constantly hitting bad guys in different angles, and I would just set up to do these moves. But this also was frustrating because the controls wouldn't want to do what you wanted it to do. So for example, I did not like stopping a lot. For some reason, I just want to kind of keep moving, and I would try to avoid that at all costs, but that actually got me in trouble because I'll constantly move, and I'll try to get something. It's hard to grab like a heart floating around. It started becoming very frustrating. The graphics-wise, this game looked pretty good. It was 8-bit. I enjoyed the style of this game. There were 6 worlds that varied from like forests to castles. And the bad guys were kind of cool, but they got boring later. And the bosses was a standout. I enjoyed all the bosses in this game. The first boss you fought was this skull with a crown, and then you fought this snake that had a unique twist of knocking out, I guess, these bulbs on them. And then you fought octopus for the first 3 levels. I won't spoil the rest of them, but they were pretty good bosses. And what was weird was, while playing this, I kind of got tired of the gyms and just wanted the boss battles. I found those way more enjoyable. And I kind of wish they did Shadow of the Colossus and just made like 20 bosses for me to fight. Because that was where this game really stood out to me. And I would say do not download this game. It was kind of short and frustrating. And I could see this working better on mobile, actually. And at $3, if this game looks interesting to you, I would just say get it on mobile. Just skip the free one unless you really want to just get the free on your computer. But I would recommend probably just getting the mobile on this if this looks enjoyable to you. The pros here are the graphics and boss battles were really great. And the con, which I mentioned earlier, was the controls were not... They were good, but they were just frustrating at times. So there you have it. Those are the 5 games from Devolver Digital. And I tried to take my bias out of there. So hopefully you saw that. If not, I apologize. I did enjoy all these games overall. I just wanted to cut to some that you wouldn't, which I was probably the one I didn't really enjoy at all. Even Ape Out I was enjoying. But I said I could see where this wouldn't capture a lot of people. So I said don't download that. Anyways, that was a great introduction to 2020. I'm glad Twitch Prime did these 5 games from a great publisher. And I hope people are doing the Twitch Prime stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think of those games or the other 5 that came out. I'm going to try to play them later. May not get a chance to talk about them, but if you played them, I would like to hear your opinions of them. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time. Peace.